Hey guys, I'm Lou, and in today's video I am going to be reviewing From Little Tokyo with Love by Sarah Kuhn. This book was provided to me by the publisher in exchange for an honest review, and my honest review is that I love this book. I am going to tell you what this book is about, why I loved it, and how much this book now means to me. This book comes out today, the 11th of May, which is perfect for Asianreadathon if you're looking for more Asian books to read. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get into the summary of this book. From Little Tokyo with Love is a young adult contemporary book that follows Rika. She is half Japanese in an environment where everyone around her is Japanese. This leads to her feeling like she's never enough and out of place. This book starts off at the beginning of Nikki Week Festival, which is a festival which celebrates Japanese culture. It's during this festival that Rika locks eyes with Grace Kimura, America's reigning rom-com sweetheart. Chaos ensues, of course, which leads Rika on an adventure to discover her long-lost mother. Helping her solve the mystery behind her mother is Hank Chen, a dashing, hot, up-and-coming actor, and maybe through this adventure she finds a place where she truly belongs. I hope that I've done this book justice, but if you don't trust me, if you don't trust my summary skills, you should at least trust, wait for it, Morgan Matson, Maureen Gu, Akemi Dawn Bowman, Misa Segura, Maggie Okuda Hall, and Helen Huang, because they all blurred this book. When I saw them, I was like, damn, that is some heavy hitters. It increased my expectations, and this book met those expectations and surpassed it. Also, let's take a moment to appreciate how gorgeous the book cover is. It's so pretty. I do feel a bit like the blurb that you see on like Goodreads and Amazon can be a bit misleading, because I went into this book thinking that it would be a young adult fairy tale retelling, and it's not. It does have fairy tale elements, and this book does like comment on like the fairy tale parallels, but it's not a fairy tale retelling. Like, the parallels are that Rika is Japanese in a family full of complete Japanese people, and she's being raised by two aunts, and they have two daughters, so she has two cousins, so like very similar to Cinderella. But unlike Cinderella, her family actually love Rika. There's also some fairy tale style pages within this book which sometimes set the scenes for the future chapters or recaps the previous chapters, and I like the way that they're done because it's like fairy tale style but also a bit modern and humorous sometimes. And I do want to reiterate the fact that even though this book does have fairy tale elements, it's primarily a young adult contemporary with aspects of mystery, adventure, romance, and self-discovery. The main reason why I love this book is because I am half Asian like Rika. I saw myself a lot in Rika, I related to her, and it does make me emotional to think that this book would have been so powerful to me as a teenager. In some ways my story is the complete opposite to Rika, because Rika is in an environment where she's surrounded by Asians and she feels like she's too white to fit in, whereas like I'm in an environment where I'm surrounded by white people, and I have been for my entire life, and I wanted to fit in so badly that I would almost reject the part of me that was Thai. And I only really started to accept myself when I was about 18 years old, and it isn't until this year, 2021, I'm 24 years old, that I've actively started to learn Thai and reconnect with that part of myself. And I feel like this book, had this book been given to me when I was like, I don't know, 16, 14, 12, I would have not felt so alone and I would have accepted myself sooner. So yeah, that's quite an emotional part as to why I like this book. There's so many layers to being Asian, and I think that this book discusses it really well, and the complexities that comes with being mixed Asian. You can be an Asian born and raised in Asia. You can be an Asian born in Asia and then brought up in the West. You can be mixed of two Asian countries, Blasian, white and Asian. And I think that this book does show just how many stories Asian people can have. Let's talk about the plot of the book. The main focus is on the mystery behind Rika's long-lost mother. Once the mystery is introduced, the book really grips you because you want to solve the mystery. You want to find out more, you want to find out the backstory and if Rika will ever meet her mother. The missions that Rika goes on to try and find her mother are also really cute because it's an adventure, but she's also doing it with Hank, also known as Henry, and so it's like adventurous and semi-action but also romantic, and the missions end up being dates. So basically the long lost mother helps her find a romance interest unintentionally. The pacing of the book also is consistent. I never felt bored when I was reading this book. I felt like there was no filler and like every scene was important, because if it wasn't solving the mystery then it was developing the characters and the relationship. I also really loved the ending of this book. I almost cried happy tears, but then I was also really sad that this book finished. I really hope that this book could be made into a movie because it would be my ultimate comfort watch, and if this book ever has a sequel, I would pre-order it immediately. If you couldn't tell from my earlier speech, I love the representation in this book. Rika's Japanese. They get involved in this group nicknamed the Harvey Club, which is where, as a reader, you meet all the different kinds of Asians in Hollywood. Henry also suffers from anxiety and panic attacks, and I liked seeing how they discussed coping mechanisms. What I think that this book does incredibly well is the balance between having an engaging plot but also having well-rounded developed characters. They drive the story. I love all the characters in the book, and quite a few of the characters as well are quite complex. We really get to know them. I really loved Rika. I thought that she was an incredibly mature teenager, so I think if you're an older reader, so not the target demographic of young adult, then you would still really appreciate this book because of how Rika tackles her problems. She's got a really good head on her shoulders, and I liked how she had a temper. She gets angry quite easily, and I liked how her character tries to manage her anger through judo. I also really loved Henry. He grew on me quite quickly as Rika got to know him. I was a bit worried that he would be an F-boy, but he was such the sweetest cinnamon roll. I was worried that he would be an F-boy simply because like he was a celebrity, but like my worries were unfounded. I also thought that this book depicted relationships incredibly well. All of the relationships in the book were complex and felt incredibly real. I liked how it shows that parents can mess up, and relationships with family tend to be rarely simple. You love them, you hate them, you envy them. I also really liked seeing that even though Rika felt like an outsider, she had a community behind her. I also really loved the romance between Rika and Henry. I don't typically enjoy books which feature a romance between a celebrity and a non-celebrity because I don't like all the added drama of fans and paparazzi, but I thought that in this book it was done really well. I liked how the romance was not only formed but it was maintained. I loved how nobody got between them. It was the problems that Rika and Henry had that affected their relationship, not an outside force affecting them. I hope that made sense. There's also a cliche romantic scene towards the end, and everyone involved in that scene knew it was a romantic cliche and they were making fun of it, but I really loved it. The romance was so sweet. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars, unsurprisingly. I read this book in 3 sittings. And I stayed up until 3 AM to read this book because I had to know what happened next, Will they? Won't they get together? Will they find the mum? I was so invested. And at the moment, I am currently in one of the worst reading slumps I've ever had in years. And despite this, I was not only able to finish this book, but I finished it incredibly fast for the reading speed that I'm reading right now, and I loved every minute of this book. That is a testament to the writing of this book. I highly recommend From Little Tokyo with Love, especially if you're out there looking for more books to read for Asianreadathon. It's May. This book comes out at the perfect time for you to go and buy it and read it. So that was my review of From Little Tokyo with Love. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Absolutely no promises though, because I have less than 90 days left in the UK. Bye!